Hey guys!
Hey!
This is our second episode of Boba Half Hour. If it lasts half an hour, we'll see how long this goes. But I'm with Jess, say hi.
Hi guys!
And we have our Bobas. Or is Boba just, it's like a synonym of like pearls, right? Black pearls, those
Yes.
tapioca. So I guess mine is technically not Boba. Because I don't have Boba. I just have this herbal jelly and pudding. I've never had it in like milk tea.
Yeah,
But-
how is that?
I mean, I don't even know if whenever I'm drinking this, if I'm tasting like herbal jelly or pudding. But it's just like another jelly. But I've had a lot of this pudding in Taiwan. They would have a lot of it. And they call it pudding, and you can hear the resemblance, right?
Yeah, wow.
Have you had like the caramel on top? Actually, it's flan. They have it like all over the world, but maybe make it differently in different areas.
I don't think I've ever tried pudding really. I've never been much of a pudding person. I think it's just the texture kind of intimidates me, the mushiness.
Why is it called pudding? Because pudding, right? I think of chocolate pudding in those like plastic cups with a spoon.
Yeah.
But this is more close to Jello.
Really?
Yeah. So you would actually have to cut away with it.
I thought that it would be like the chocolate cup pudding by looking at it. And probably because it's called pudding too.
Yeah.
That's so misleading.
I've never thought of that. So I don't know. Because you have to let it set and you actually bake it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really surprising. Is it sweet?
I can't tell from this drink, but usually it's mostly sweet from usually there's caramel that comes with it or any type of sugar.
Ooh.
So that's what it's a
Sounds
whole
really good.
experience. Like you would flip it over on a plate and you would uncover it
Wow.
and then the sugar drips down. All of that good stuff.
That's nice. I guess today I'm drinking something much more simple than Keira. I'm just drinking a winter melon tea with pearls or boba, whatever you want to call it. And I think we were talking about this before, but I'm on team bubbles / pearls / boba. I really like them because I like how they're sweet and I like how they're chewy. It really makes the experience for me. And I've actually never tried another topping besides boba. I'm very loyal to the boba.
Oh, so always just boba.
Yes, and another legendary dessert is the boba ice cream that I think blew up last summer.
Yeah.
I ate one like every single day.
Wow, okay. It is a little sweet, but that also had the brown sugar. Have you had brown sugar boba?
No. I usually get like the fruity ones.
Yeah, I mean the brown sugar boba, I haven't seen that a long time ago, but that might be just how it's made. All you do is add sugar to the syrup that you cook the tapioca pearls in,
Yeah.
but it made this whole movement of, I've been seeing brown sugar pop up everywhere. Maybe
There's no
like a
actual
couple years
tea in
ago.
that though, right? It's just the milk and the brown sugar syrup.
Oh, I don't know if you could choose.
That was character themed, and the eyes would be gumballs. And it would be so impractical because the eyes were made of gum, but you were also eating the ice cream. So like, do you spit out the eyes? Or do you just like
you
somehow
just take
chew
a
the
long
gum
time
while
chewing.
eating the
Yeah.
ice cream?
Yeah.
I used to be very confused about gum actually. When I was younger, I couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that you were chewing it, but you weren't supposed to swallow it.
Oh, that's probably why it's dangerous for younger children. There's a myth, I think, that it stays, if you swallow gum, it stays in your body for like 7 years. That's the number. So
Wow, people
Yeah.
believe that.
yeah.
That just doesn't sound right to me, but it definitely clogs you, probably. It's not the best to digest.
Yeah. But actually, I don't think I've chewed gum before because I just don't want to. Like my family, they all chew gum and I always decline. Politely decline, no thank you. I just don't see the point in it.
I like chewing gum a lot, but I'm very particular about it. I think it runs in my family, but I can't have any gum that has fake sugar in it because it makes me sick. I need to have gum with real sugar in it. So if you're having gum with real sugar in it, that's pretty bad for your teeth. So I need to be very careful about having gum and brush my teeth afterwards. But I like gum a lot.
People use it to fidget, almost. They need something to do.
Right.
Have you seen the new fidget things? I don't know what it's called.
Oh, right. Fidget toys are back again, right?
Yeah, and then they have these colorful spheres, hemispheres, and then you just press down on them.
Right, I've seen those. Because I think when we were a little bit younger, fidget spinners were a thing, and then like the whole fidgeting, and fidget cubes as well, and then I think the whole fidgeting toy thing died down again, but I think now it's back, because I know a lot of people are doing, right, like the poppets, I think they're called, like the popping thing that Keira was talking about, and then a lot of people use Nido stress balls, I think. I mean, I don't follow the toy trends that much, but it definitely looks fun, all the things that people are getting into.
It's just bubble wrap.
Oh, right, it's like endless bubble wrap.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way.
When I think about these though, I really think about how companies, or just in general, we're all of a sudden forced to believe that these have amazing qualities, these products.
You did your
And that
research
we need
paper
them.
on that, right?
Exactly, consumer spending, yeah. And it's crazy, like I think about slime, and I know in elementary school, I was also that person that wanted, I was like, can I get some clear glue? Yes, I need it, please. And I just think about it, and glue, come on, glue for slime, like bottles and bottles people would buy to make this concoction.
That was a great marketing scheme for glue companies. I know also red velvet cake was a result of a marketing scheme. There used to be something called velvet cake that was basically the same thing as red velvet cake, except it was whatever natural color it was, probably a brownish color, because I know red velvet cake is a little different from chocolate cake, like it's a little more acidic or something. But yeah, it was just a food dye company marketing scheme where they would publish
fancy.
into cooking books to make it red. And now we all know and love this dessert. It's crazy, the power of marketing.
Yeah. And then the fidget spinners. I mean, sure, but they're just buttons. Like, what happened to fidgeting with normal things, like a pen? Although that's annoying. But I know what I would do that probably is really bad for the book, whatever I was reading. I would just kind of bend and fold the paper. That's what I would do, like, every single time.
I fidget a lot with pens, and I always feel bad when I'm doing it though, because I get really mad when someone else is fidgeting with a pen and I just hear like click, 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 click.
Yeah.
But it also feels good to be the one clicking it.
Yeah, or like opening a highlighter cap and closing it and doing that repeatedly. And they don't even need to really put so much into marketing when everyone already has the product. So then you're just left out here like, is this product so good? Do I need it to not fidget? And then you start thinking you can't pay attention to your task at hand if you don't have something.
Right. And the sad part is these things are just huge fads, so people spend a lot of money on them, and then the toy industry will throw in a completely new toy fad.
Yeah, it's never enough what you have.
Like, I think we've gone through Hatchimals, Rainbow Loom, fidget spinners, slime. I could just
Wow.
list them all off right now.
Wow. Yeah, and then they just become non-existent in our lives. We don't need them. But then at the same time, it's never enough for, if you're always trying to chase what's new, what's fresh, what everyone has, it's never going to be enough. And then you end up spending so much money. So you might as well be content, satisfied with what you have.
Right. And I think social media adds a whole new layer to that concept, because now it's not just tactile objects and products that people feel obligated to have. It's also places that people feel obligated to go to and get a picture of themselves there to post on their account.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen how like nature is, some parts of nature outside in parks, people are posting on social media, so then other people go and then it's like ruining these ecosystems.
Oh, that's terrible. And I think it all goes back to this concept, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, of conspicuous consumption. People want to have labels, designer
Yes.
labels, brand labels. If they see other people with those labels, they feel obligated to have it too, to show that they're of a certain social status, not necessarily because they want the actual product.
Exactly. This is basically my paper, or at
That's
least
so
some part of it.
interesting.
Right, and it's just people want to have this impression on other people of being in a higher class. So then oftentimes people buy luxury goods over economic or functional goods for precisely that reason. Because something that says Gucci or is known to be from Gucci is not necessarily functional. You're not paying hundreds of dollars for that. You're paying for its brand name.
It's so interesting that human nature is like that. Like, we have this yearning desire to be accepted by our peers and seen as a high social status, and we care so much what others think about us.
Yeah, I hate that. I don't know. I wonder if animals have anything like that.
I don't know.
Maybe it's much more simple in animals. Like, they have it. Obviously, you want to be pleased. You want to be accepted by your family, right? If you're an animal, you want to attract a mate.
Right.
But then in our human society, we have all of these connections, and then it becomes much more stressful to try to please everyone, because how can you really do that?
Yeah, I think the only person that you should be pleasing is yourself. At
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Well, I think you should try to please others because other people matter. You can't just be in this self-centered universe. That shouldn't necessarily be your priority. I think it's nice to put others above yourself, and that's a very selfless thing to do, but that shouldn't take over your life, just impressing other people.
Yeah, I think you can put others, I don't know, above yourself. I think yourself maybe should
Equal.
maybe equal, or just high up there.
Yeah.
Even if less than yourself, which I think is justified, but just up there. But you have to decide, like, only do that for the people that matter. And obviously you can say, okay, just people who matter, but who matters? And that's always something you have to decide.
That's a
hard.
tough question.
Yeah.
Personally, I would argue that everyone matters.
Everyone
And everyone
matters.
is deserving of respect. A little bit of respect, right? Some people, it's definitely very hard to respect them, like a serial killer. But then if you dissect these people, you realize that a lot of them are actually psychopaths. This is something that they can't control. They were born with this problem, or they had an abusive childhood, or whatever. So I think they still need a little bit of respect, just for the fact that they're alive, in a way. But they don't need a lot of respect. They just need the bottom line.
Yeah, I agree. If you look at everyone's individual story, you start having a lot of empathy, and you think about their entire background, and there's always a reason for why people do things. Like, it's just different values or whatever it is.
Right.
But if we're talking about putting someone or people up there in terms of, like, caring for them and doing things for them, I disagree. I don't think everyone should be there. Like, because you can't please everyone. You can't do everything for everyone without sacrificing yourself.
Right. I think everyone does need respect, and you don't necessarily have to do a lot for them and have that consume your entire life, but if someone needs help, you should try to help them out, you know?
Yeah.
I think oftentimes people disrespect an individual just based off of their opinions or their lifestyle choices, and I think you could not respect their lifestyle choices or their opinion, but you should still respect them as an individual.
I mean, it's easy to say that, though, because some opinions, they're really,
They're
like,
really
people
tough.
are stubborn. If they believe something, they believe it with all their heart. And they believe, maybe their opinion, they believe is a fact. So it's kind of hard.
Yeah. Honestly, this just reminds me of, like, elementary school, and when we would have those prompts, like, I like cats. Is this an opinion or a fact? Cats
Seriously.
are awesome. Is this an opinion or a fact?
Analysis is good sometimes because the average person, you throw some facts at them, they don't know what to make of it. They don't understand how it connects to everything that's happening in the world. And then when you throw in analysis, though, maybe they can understand it, but they only understand it from the perspective of the editors or of the person that's giving the analysis.
Yeah. I don't follow the news, but I know that a lot of people who try to remain unbiased when it comes to news, they like to listen to a bunch of different news sources just to really get the story straight.
Yeah. But then it gets even harder because when you have these two conflicting sources, what do you believe?
Mm-hmm.
So that's all bias. Everything is biased.
Definitely. Like, I know it was a huge thing in our research class not having sources with a bias.
I don't think you can find something without bias, but you have to look for reliable sources.
Peer-reviewed sources, I think, are one of the best sources to look at if you don't want bias, considering that so many people with differing opinions and perspectives looked at it and reviewed it to make sure that it was correct.
I would say a reliable source can still be biased. Like, a bias is just a perspective.
Right.
And is a perspective, can it really be right or wrong? I don't know. Maybe some biases are more understandable than others, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just looking at its reliability, and also you have to try to recognize what the bias is. Like, look at the author, look at the people that are making it, what is their agenda, because everyone, they live their individual lives, they have their environment and everything that's going to bias or put bias in what they're producing. So you have to just recognize that, pinpoint what it is, and then really analyze what you're reading. It's hard to ask everyone to actually do everything, like all the research and pinpointing what the bias is. You can't ask that of everyone. It's hard for people to do.
Right, I think biases understandably have a negative connotation, but like Keira was saying, it's human nature to develop biases and opinions. That's just who we are. And I would actually be very concerned for someone if they did not have any opinions on anything.
Yeah.
That's just who we are as humans. That's what separates us from other species, because we have these deep thoughts. We think about these things and we develop our own stance and perspective. We're free thinkers.
Yeah, but the thing is, when it comes to reporting and you're saying something to a wide audience,
Yes.
that's when you have the obligation, right? Because, like I was saying, it's too hard to ask everyone to determine and decipher between what's false and what's true. So as a reporter, I think you have a responsibility of giving what's true, what you know to be true, and not just what other people are reporting. Because a lot
Definitely.
of people conflate repeatability, or just how frequency is what it's called, with truth, right? Just because you see something from 2 news sources or even 5, and you see people reposting the same story, it doesn't make it true, because that's what happens. It's just like a exponential growth. People just repost the same thing. That's how fake news spreads.
Yeah, I think definitely it's fine to give opinion as long as you're saying that you're giving your opinion, you're putting it in an editorial segment of the newspaper or as an opinion show. Because I love listening to some opinion shows, because I like to hear other people's opinions and their arguments.
Just being real with what do you really know, and if you're saying something is a fact, how do you know it's a fact?
Right. And I was watching The Social Dilemma, actually.
Oh, yeah?
And it said something like, so the social media, because it only filters you certain information based on your interests, it's actually making people more opinionated and more closed off about their opinions and passionate about their opinions than ever, because they're only seeing sources and opinion segments from their political party or that align with their views. So their ideas are just being reaffirmed and they're not necessarily hearing the other side.
Exactly. But how important do you think it is to stay on top of the news?
I think as a citizen, it's pretty important to stay on top of the news, just to know what's happening in the world and act accordingly.
Yeah. But people just think that it doesn't concern them.
Right, but the world is so interconnected now
Yeah.
that I think it's really important to listen to the news for your own benefit and for the benefit of those around you.
It's easy to become distant from the government, politics, and the news because you think it doesn't affect your everyday life. But in reality, it does. Maybe not directly or in very huge ways.
And I think that's why it's so important to follow the news for instances like the COVID-19 pandemic, so you know how to protect yourself and you know what's going on here.
Yeah.
What if someone didn't follow the news and they had no idea that COVID was happening?
That would
back
not
in the
be
midst of
good.
the pandemic, that would be terrible for their safety and other people's safety. So I think that's a really good real life and current
That's true.
example
Yeah,
about why you should follow the news.
And also for voting, once again, that actually is really a situation where a lot of people choose not to even look their candidates up on the news or see what's going on regarding the election, because they think it's just one vote. A democracy is good because there can be change.
Definitely.
But it's when people become hopeless, right, and they don't vote, they don't choose to become involved, that's when people that know that they have a say, that they take advantage of that. They take advantage of people not actually being involved, people not standing up for what they believe in, because they think their voice doesn't matter. Politics plays a huge role in our lives too, so it's important.
Even school politics are interesting. Keira actually 2-time treasurer for our student council, so she's very experienced with that. And I think school politics are surprisingly very similar to world politics and the politics that we see in government.
Right, there's a lot of sentiment that school politics, it doesn't matter, which to a point, yeah, we're not making big changes in the world, but it matters to a degree in our school. But obviously there are problems with elections.
Definitely.
All that.
There's definitely the added layer of difficulty in knowing everyone involved.
Right.
As a candidate, knowing the people who will be voting for you.
I don't think everyone recognizes that people don't know who you vote for. So there shouldn't be pressure to vote for your friend. You might wish for them like the best, obviously, but maybe you know that they're not the best fit to be in this position or job.
Right.
I know I felt pressure just whenever I was running for something. Like, how would people know probably the greatest things that I think about myself? They're not things that I necessarily did. It's just my everyday actions or my values, the way I hold myself, just like the very core foundations of my brain and everything I do. It's not what I can write in a paragraph.
And I think it's almost hard to prove these things.
Right.
I think one of the things that I think I have a lot of is determination. I think that's one of my biggest personality traits. But when I just say I'm really determined, will people believe me? How can I? There's really no way I could think of backing that up.
Yeah.
In the 500-word paragraph.
People throw around these words. They're empathetic, they're thoughtful, diligent. How do we know, anyone can look on the thesaurus. What are some synonyms for hardworking? Some synonyms for kind? And they just put it down. So it really is just in your everyday life, when you're interacting with people, what are you like? And it can't be on a nice, happy, sunny day, what are you like? It has to be that, but also when it's raining and storming, what are you like to other people? When you're not in the best mood, when their circumstances are less than ideal, maybe they're not as nice to you, how do you respond to them? It's all of that.
Yeah, it's also the same concept of thinking about track. When you're running on the track in front of your coaches and teammates doing the workout, and when you're running on the track by yourself when no one's watching, doing a workout. Same thing. Like, I think a lot of people put on these qualities maybe illegitimately. They don't actually have them when they're around people to please people. But maybe when they're alone by themselves in their basement, they're not actually like that. But I think everyone has some good qualities, and certain qualities kind of, I think people value more than others in a way. So I feel like people are almost tempted to just pretend to be a certain way or say that their best qualities are things that actually aren't their best qualities.
Yeah. Or I do think that people believe most of the time what they're writing down, what they're saying to other people that they are, but you never know.
I hope.
Because I've found myself, like, I've thought I was hardworking at times, I was determined, diligent, and I was to a point, but I know now as I've grown older, maybe matured, I wasn't as hardworking then as maybe I am now, or as I could have been. As you start to understand in these circumstances, what did you do, and how could it have been not the greatest choice, or what would you have done differently?
Right.
So you don't really understand that. Like, you might actually believe you're hardworking, but then at home you're like, oh, it's a break time, I like food, and you start eating.
But I think it's important to acknowledge that it's okay to not be hardworking, and you have to be honest with yourself.
But I think it's also hard to actually have these words to describe yourself, because it's very situational. It's different in everything you do, like on different days, or when met with a different environment, different people.
And also with age, it just changes.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one word I could use to describe myself for my entire life, from birth until today, because we just changed so much. Kira's right.
Yeah. And I've also been thinking about how I would describe myself, but it's very hard, because I'm realistic, but then sometimes I dream and I think about all these great things, and I think about the good qualities of people, but then compared to other people, maybe I'm like more realistic, maybe even cynical. It's like opposites, complete opposites, but it's in different situations. And the only way to know someone is not through a paragraph, even if they write a novel about themselves. It has to be by knowing the person, being with them for a considerable amount of time to know how they act.
Right.
When faced with different challenges, obstacles, or whatever it is.
But I think at the end of the day, it goes back to what we were talking about a long time ago when we were talking about buying stuff, like whether it's buying trendy toys or buying designer labels. Humans just have this innate mechanism within them to please others and just make others like them and be accepted by others. And I think part of that is displaying certain qualities, whether you actually have them or not, or saying that you have these certain qualities, whether you actually have them or not. Because I don't think it would blow over well if you said, I'm narcissistic, I'm lazy, and I'm pessimistic, even if that's a completely true statement about you.
At this point, left with very minimal tea. I think you too, Jess?
Yeah, I just have bubbles that I'm gonna get a spoon and snack on later.
Yeah, I have my pudding and herbal jelly, a little bit of red bean. But it was a good talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great, and that is all for today.
That is all. Please follow us on Instagram at Through the Rift Podcast if you haven't already, and stay tuned for new content. We post something every Thursday.
Yep. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
It's difficult. You can't box someone in these characteristics.
Right.
That's why I have actually a huge respect for writers, because they can kind of do that in their writing with just words.